It was great. It was great. It was good though. Great trip.
Good afternoon, everyone. I see you all got my email personally inviting you to this incredible session, and I'm so glad you're here. I am just so glad you're here. Thank you, Table 4. Good afternoon. Shh. First of all, I have to ask you the question of this GA. Have you all been scanned? Okay, just checking. Because that's how we've collected your banking information, all your personal health data, and we just want to make sure that we can support you for the rest of your lives. So I'm Becky Caspi. I am the Director General of the Jewish Federations of North America's office in Israel, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you to Local Leadership and the Future of Israel's Recovery. So I really hope that's where you thought you were going, but you can't leave now, so please enjoy the show. I wanted to start with just a little bit of context. Federations are truly what we call glocal. We think globally and locally at the same time because we have always understood the importance of local leadership in our work in Israel. After 2 years of war, the significance of strategies and programs adapted to the unique needs of each location is truly critical to Israel's recovery. And while Israel, as you all know, may be a very small country, its different regions and municipalities are now dealing with very diverse scenarios. In the south, all are still addressing the impact of Hamas's horrific invasion. In the north, many are coming to terms with significant devastation from being evacuated for more than 19 months, while for some, their cities were changed in an instant with the impact of an Iranian missile. Nowhere remains untouched by war. This session will highlight the distinct and shared needs of localities across Israel, alongside the critical role of key local institutions, municipalities, and local and regional authorities, community centers, and NGOs during times of crisis. Together, we're going to learn what it takes to lead in unprecedented circumstances and why our next phase of work in Rebuild Israel is so very, very critical. First, we'll hear in a minute from Mayor Chaim Bibas, the chairman of the Federation of Local Authorities and mayor of Modi'in, who has a unique perspective on the importance of local leadership and has dedicated himself to strengthening this function all across Israel. This applies even to his own city, which, like many in Israel, has lost residents to the war. I believe you have 37 fallen soldiers from Modi'in. May their memories be for a blessing. And then we'll turn to three experts, all good friends and colleagues who have led with courage and creativity throughout the war. Afterwards, here's the good news, we'll take some of your questions and hear some of your comments to help round out our discussion. So Chaim, would you please join me? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, first, thank you so much for being with us today. Let me ask, would you please start by explaining how the Israeli municipal system works with the national system in times of routine and in times of emergency to address local civilian needs, and why partnering with local government fosters effective recovery?
So thank you about the question and the opportunity to share with you the knowledge as the chairman of the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel and as mayor of Modi'in Maccabim Road. You know, the municipalities, the local government, and the Federation of Israel, you know, deal with most of the things of the activities and all the services to the resident of our cities. You know, in routine time, we deal with education, transportation, infrastructure, welfare, culture, sport, every needs, but and of course not only routine time, except you know the Israel Defense Forces who belong to the state, to the government, and all the orders came from the government. You know, in Israel, the municipalities and the federation is the coordinator between the government to the municipalities. So in routine time, we deal with most of the things. In emergency situation, you know, it's clearly an emergency situation, and you know, we work with all the bodies in the state of Israel, with the government, with the IDF, with the national institution, with the emergency services, and of course, you know, we did it in the COVID-19 pandemic. We did it in extreme weather, and we did it in all the military operation. You know, before the October 7th, we deal with a few military operation in Gaza Strip, in Judea and Samaria. And of course, what we experienced since October 7th and Am Kilavi operation.
The war with Iran.
You know, the government in Israel make the policy and you know, provide the services, but the municipalities is deal on the ground with every things of the resident. For example, we on October 7th, you know, you talked about my city, Modi'in Maccabim Road. You know, I lead the highest of recruited the Israel Defense Forces, and every year I received the certificate from the chief of IDF, male and female, you know, to recruit a special unit, 60% of our youths, to 30% to the technological unit. You know, in routine time, it's very proud to stand with all the mayors and chief of IDF to receive this certificate. But in emergency situation, you know, we lost 37 our young girl and boys who fallen in the Iron Sword war. So you know, at the first time we wake up early morning. My own children and the other children, you know, take themselves and go to the south, to the Gaza Strip, and to the north to Lebanon border. And of course, at the same time, in equivalent time, I opened the command center in my city, and the National Crisis Command Center in the Federation of Local Authorities to prepare all the municipalities. You know, at first time, we supported the mayors in the south, and we give them the opportunity to evacuated the resident to hotels, to other cities, and of course from north.
So Chaim, first of all, I've had the privilege of visiting your command center, and it's really, it's going to sound funny to say it this way, but it's a thing of beauty to see the way you have total control over the city and can view in real time every location, every service, and can dispatch help. So first of all, thank you for leading in that way. And what I'm hearing you say is that the essential connector between the citizens and national government and national services is the mayor and his or her team. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, of course.
And
Of course. The federation is the coordinator between the resident, between the municipalities to the government, and of course we are a bridge between them. So, for example, you know, on October 7th, we gave more than 50 million shekel, 30 million to the southern cities and town, and 20 million to the northern cities. To first respond, to evacuate the resident, to give them, you know, all the buses, all the rooms, all the things, food, medication, everything in this.
This must be confusing all of you, because I know you follow Israeli politics and it looks like everybody's fighting all the time. But the solidarity and the brotherhood and sisterhood that exists between and among the mayors is really given tremendous strength to the people in cities that have been so hard hit. So first of all, I think we should really give a round of applause to the leader of the local authorities.
Thank you.
And let me just ask you one more question, if I may. So Jewish federations support many nonprofit organizations, and we've helped empower volunteers. What does the city do to help coordinate the work of all of the different good organizations that are seeking to help and support the citizens in a way that makes sure that one neighborhood isn't getting 100% of the services, that everyone's needs are being met? How do you lead?
I tell you about it. You know, the municipalities in Israel, we work, I said that with all the organization, and of course with the government, with IDF, with emergency services, and of course with NGOs and civilians leadership. You know, in routine time, we took them and we take them to do everything in the north, in the south, with the formal education, with informal. But in emergency situation is very important because, you know what, the first time, you know, the first volunteers organization came to defend the people. At first time, you know, the emergency response unit, which combined by you know, the resident of the cities, they took themselves, of course, the head of the regional council of Sha'ar HaNegev, Ophir Lipstein, who left their home and fight against the terrorists of Hamas to defend his.
I just want to make sure everyone in our room today understands that in the cities and towns and regions of Israel, there are citizen emergency response units that have the first responsibility of responding when something unexpected
happens. You know, in October
happens.
7th, we have only 608 soldiers, you know, in all the base around the Gaza Strip. And of course, the emergency response unit of all the towns and kibbutzim and villages surround the Gaza Strip. So they were the first response to save the life of the state of Israel, because, you know, 300 of them fallen in the first attack by the Hamas organization. And, you know, at this time, we have to bring back the resilience of the resident, because in every places, in Ashdod, in Kiryat Malachi, in Modin, in other places, most of the young people recruit to Israeli Defense Forces to fight in the south and north, and we have to give them the safe and the confidence. So we established immediately the emergency response unit, most of the equipment that we equip all this unit is by the people. Few of them sit here, and of course we have to say thanks to United States of America and to the Jewish community in North America. You prove that you are the best friend of the state of Israel. Without your help, I don't know if we can challenge with any challenges, to face any challenges in this situation. So this is the first time. After that, you take as civilians leadership, help to transfer the people, 100,000 people. We took from the north and from the south to hotels, to other places. So give them food, medication, the first aid. So the people from Jewish community help us to stand in the last 2 years and to defend the people of Israel. And I have to say that now, you're partners of the State of Israel, you're full partners. So I would like to thank you about this thing, because without the standing with us, I don't know if we can get to back earlier the resilience of the citizen in our cities. At first time we realized that we have the common fate, and we have to stand together in Israel, and of course, especially Jewish communities in North America. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaim, for setting up today's discussion so beautifully and well. Thank you. Thank you. So just in the matter of time, I'm going to ask our three panelists to come on up here and join me as I'm introducing you. But don't wait for your name. Just come on up and grab a chair. Can you hear me over here? That's on. Great. Do you still recognize me? I mean, this is, I'm just moving from place to place. So it's a defensive maneuver, don't worry. So our panelists have been dealing with challenges no one, absolutely no one. We had an extra one. Thank you. Do we have, Rena, do you have one for the questions? Okay, so we're all set. I did promise you questions, so we will make sure you get to ask on a mic. No one could have imagined just over 2 years ago. And today, you are leading the major recovery efforts that are all part of Rebuild Israel. So our three speakers are, in the middle, Mayor Tzvika Brot, who is the mayor of Bat Yam. Elected in 2018, he leads a central beachfront metropolis of 130,000 residents, many of whom are immigrants and come from low-income households. Bat Yam is working to rebuild essential infrastructure and to strengthen community resilience after a direct missile strike during Operation Rising Lion, that's the war within the war with Iran, that caused the highest number of civilian casualties and created the biggest blast zone in Israel's entire history. Mayor Tzvika Brot. To my right, Elad Kozakaro, who is the CEO of the Kiryat Shmona Community Centers Network, which in communities like Kiryat Shmona plays a close role in the lives of the city's residents. Elad is leading renewal efforts through community building, education, and youth engagement. Kiryat Shmona, Israel's northernmost city, was evacuated on October 20th, 2023, due to ongoing rocket fire from Hezbollah. And over there on the far right, my dear friend, Brigadier General Dr. Hadass Minka-Brand, who is the executive director of JDC Israel. She's an organizational psychologist and former head of the IDF's Behavioral Science Center, who, for the past 2 years, has served in the reserves as chief psychologist in the IDF's Hostage Family Unit. As executive director of JDC Israel, her day job, she is overseeing multiple major initiatives designed to boost Israel's recovery with a focus on supporting vulnerable communities, including with the initiative Mashiv Haruach, which is now operating in 6 cities and supporting resilience and recovery. So as I said, I'm going to ask a few questions and then we'll open up to you. So let me start with a question for all of you. What is the biggest professional challenge you've had to deal with since October 7th? How did your team address it? And how has it changed your community and your work? Tzvika, let me ask you first.
Thank you, Becky, first of all, for this opportunity and the privilege to be here with so many friends. I think that my answer might surprise you, because I think during the war, we saw that that was the mayors that actually leading by Chaim Bibas, that I have the privilege to be one of his deputies in the local authorities organization, that showed what is leadership when we so desperately needed that in Israel. And let me give you an example. If you are asking my single day that was the hardest or the most challenging one since the war started, I have several, but let me give you just one example of one day in the first few days of the war, when I started early morning in a double funeral of two of my residents. Then I had to go to a family who lived in Bat Yam. Bat Yam is one of the biggest cities in the country, population of 170,000 people. So we had more than 30 casualties that we lost during the war. So I had to go and tell the parents that the IDF just identified the body of their son that was on one of the Nova music festival casualties. Then we had a meeting in the city emergency center, then another funeral. And by the way, in two of those cases of the funeral, the parents, that was too difficult for them to identify their children, they asked us to do that. So I had to do that instead of them. Then in the afternoon, another funeral. And then late night, after midnight, I had to go back to the same family that I was there this morning, just to tell the parents that now we found the body of their daughter as well. So that was like a typical day for any one of us, I think, specifically in the major cities in Israel, in the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the war. But again, I think the most challenging and maybe painful thing that we experienced wasn't that, because we actually trained for that. This is not what I signed in for, of course. Yeah, I thought that I'm about to get elected and then I'm going to work hard to make Bat Yam the great beach ever and maybe the greatest school system in Israel.
That's still coming. It's okay.
We have that as well. But then COVID hits and then the war hits and the Operation Shomer Chomot. This is not what we signed in for. But I think this is leadership, the leadership that actually can change a course and to adjust yourself. But the hardest thing for me, at least, was the fact that during those issues, when we had to deal with that challenges, every month, another friend or someone that we thought is our friend in the Western world decide that we're in the story of Israel versus Hamas, we are the bad guy. And I'm not talking nationally, I'm talking in terms of a relationship between cities. And we had some cases, again, with our friends, yes, that they decide to cancel like a cooperation agreement between Bat Yam and other cities around the Western world because they don't want to work with us. And about what? We are not talking about Gaza, of course. Okay, we're talking about environmental issues and health issues, public health and education. And I think that for us in Bat Yam, that was a true shock that we actually live in this reality, and people that blind or maybe want to be blind to see the truth and decide to go up and stood up in their countries, in their cities, and talk about us as the bad guy. That was a shock for us, and this is something that was impact for us. And I think that October 7 made it very clear what is good and what is bad, and who is on the right side of history and who's not.
Thank you, Tzvika. Very, very sobering. Okay, Hadass.
It is so inspiring to hear Tzvika and Chaim, and I know exactly what Elad does in Kiryat Shmona. Really, this is a panel of leaders, and that leadership showed up in the last 2 years. And for me, as a colleague, it's really a great opportunity to be with you in this journey. I really think that it's much more clear now that many of the strengths are now belong to the local authorities, and that's why I'm so happy that you choose to do this panel. We're doing this activity in the daily life all the time. So we are partner, Becky and I usually speak about the power of the local authorities, and many of our projects based on the power of the local authorities. So I'm really blessed to be in this panel and this position, and in general to be in the rebuilding of Israel through the local authorities nowadays. I can say that for us, as JDC, you know the JDC, most of you know JDC many years. The JDC 112 years always reinvent itself to the context and the needs. I think the last 2 years represent the most how impactful and how meaningful is working in the local authorities. And I can say that many of our projects based on the local authorities. For example,
Wait, before we go there, and I know we're going to come back to that, can you share,
about the hostages.
no, can you share from your professional, not your other job, the hardest situation you had to deal with? Just briefly. And if you want me to come back to you after I ask Elad, I'm happy to do that.
Well, I can answer from many kind of perspective about this question. Someone asked me today, who is help to you and where from you got the strength. And I really think to be in the proactive side of the rebuilding of Israel now, it's the most healing thing I can imagine. So to speak about the difficulties or the challenges, of course, we as all the organization, I have 380 professionals in JDC that are working all over the country, from the north to the south. They need to be available, they need to work during emergency and be with the local authorities wherever they are. And of course, it's very challenging. Half of our workforce were on reserved. I personally were on reserved. What you described is my second hat on reserve with the hostages. And all of us were in the situation like every citizen in Israel, but belong maybe to the proactive side of the rebuilding. And that's a huge privilege.
Thank you. Elad.
Okay. What a big challenge of Kiryat Shmona, of the Galil. Let's think about it. We are 25,000 people and residents live in Kiryat Shmona. And one night, we opt out and say for all the residents, we need to live in the city. And all the time, the army and the government tell us, Kiryat Shmona never not evacuation. We need to care and to give a service for all the residents under the ground. We have a 400 bomb shelter in Kiryat Shmona, and you give a service for a resident. We don't have a plan. And one night, 19th of October, the government say, we need to leave. And all the residents go and live in all the country. Kiryat Shmona is a small city, 5 kilometers. And now you live of 500 kilometers and 564 places in Israel. So 300 hotels. And we don't have a plan. You build a plane alone. Not alone, with the partner and the philanthropist. The government all the time to say us that we need to do alone 72 hours, maybe 86 hours, but not 1 year. And I remember, Becky, that first meet in the bomb shelter in Kiryat Shmona in November 23 with the Herzog president, I think so, and looked my eye and tell me, we don't alone. We are care, we're together. And now I want to stop and tell you, look to her eyes, and to say thank you very much for all support. For what you give us. Yes, but we do hear that. So together with the partner, we build a plane for replace the children of the school and kindergarten.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you and say, so a city that was never ever going to evacuate because you hold the northern border for Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evacuated to, I have this number, I want to make sure you all heard it, 564 different locations. How many hotels? 300?
315.
300 hotels.
Yeah.
But wait, here's the good news. How much extra staff did you get to continue to deliver municipal services to all of your residents, which stayed on your shoulders?
Yes, I would say we're small city in Israel. We have
Wait, and the
one-
government gave you how many additional staff?
No,
Nobody.
Nobody.
So now they have to continue to deliver educational services and all of the other services to 564 locations. So how do you build community when people are so far from home? And how are you now supporting residents as many have come back?
Important to say that the focus is not in the north, in the south. So, and we need in all the evacuation, they build school. We built first school and 75 kindergarten and 6 community center in Tiberia and Tel Aviv and Haifa and Yerushalayim, Elat. Together with the partner, we hired 100 coordinator, community coordinator. You take חילקנו, divide the country for 6 places. We put one manager for all place. We put a professional in the education, in the social, in the community, the youth, and we create small municipality in all the country. In the start, we check where is it, where the resident, and after we give him a service, and after we understand we can't give just a service in the hotel. We need become the resident people that doing for itself. So all the world we doing 2,050 activity together with the resident, and this was doing all the world. You visit in some place, and I'm hope now to come back. We speak about and continue.
So you, under impossible circumstances, you held your people. You told them you were there. You sent angels out to work with them, social workers, educators, and you are all partners in this, especially sitting over there on my left, the incredible Sarah Mali, who runs the UIA Canada office in Israel. Please. They have been partnered with Kiryat Shmona for a very, very long time, and we've been blessed to be able to learn from them and to follow their lead. Hadass, I'm going to come over to you now. I want to take us down south on our little tour of Israel. How do you build back resilience against such a diverse region? I know you're working in Ofakim and Ashkelon and Rahat, a Bedouin city. How do you provide support for a population so deeply impacted on October 7th? And how do you make the Western Negev feel like home again?
I can answer when you are with us. It's much more simple, but I'll describe it. Our activity all over Israel. So first, it's important to know that we are working in all over the cities, all the municipalities in Israel, from the north to the south, and also in Elad, in Kiryat Shmona, and also in Bat Yam. So we're everywhere, and in every city in a different kind of position. So we have like the Northern Initiative that you invest in, work with the municipalities in the north. The Mental Well-Being Initiative, which is the biggest initiative in Israel for resilience, the national initiative, working through the municipalities in Israel. So everything we are doing based on the local cities in Israel, and it's very important to mention. The question was about Mashiv Haruach program, which is very, very meaningful and unique program. And thanks to your support, we succeeded to be in 6 cities, 3 on the south. It's Ashkelon, Ofakim, and Rahat, which is a Bedouin city, and also 3 in the north, Nahariya, Ma'alot Tarshiha, and Carmiel. And we started in cities that weren't evacuated. It was very important because the citizens stood there under emergency, under the missiles, with all the implication of October 7th. And we had to bring solution and answers to the city themselves. So just to explain, Mashiv Haruach means to revive the spirit. We wanted to revive the spirit of the cities that most hurted by October 7th. And what we found there is that every city has its own challenge, and we couldn't know what will be the right thing for each one of the cities. So the first principle in our work on the cities were to come with a humble position and to listening very carefully to the needs of each one of the cities. For example, Ashkelon suffered from 200 missiles in this period, and the citizens were there. The residents had to be under horrible situation. Ofakim, 54 people has been killed on October 7th in the same neighborhood, Mishor HaNegev, and they stood there. They were afraid to go out to the public space. That was the main challenge there. In Rahat, which is a Bedouin city, some citizen has kidnapped to Gaza as a hostages during the war, and other were under other situation like violence, internal violence. So each one of the cities need its own solution. And what we understood when we came to the intervention, that the most important thing is to strengthen the local leadership and to be with the CEOs and the mayors of the cities to help them to find the strengths from the city itself, to develop the resilience resource of the city. So now we have, in which cities that I mentioned, more than 30 programs. It's a very, very big programs for the city that the city choose to develop with her own tools, with her own strengths, and we just support the city to do it. It's not just the generous money that we bring to them, thanks to your support, which is very important to the city. It's also the partnership. When we develop together the solution, when we understand that something is needed in the city. So if you'll be, by chance, in Israel, in the end of the month, you'll see in Ofakim the marathon. Marathon of Ofakim is part of our program to create narrative of heroism. Think about the picture of victory of Ofakim, that the whole city go to run in the marathon. Of course, we are with them, as always. And it is part of the program to build the strengths of the city itself. So we have 4 principles to this program. We want to create a narrative of heroism, as I said. We want to give services close to the house because the vulnerable population in those cities can go along to know what are their rights, for example, a caregiver and things like that. So we're going to their houses and we bring the solutions like a mobile unit for leverage rights and things that we are doing to make sure that each one, we won't leave anyone behind. The third thing is we want to create vibrant atmosphere, vibrant ecosystem in the city. So if you'll go to Ashkelon or to Ofakim, you can find elderly people running a food truck. For example, some of you saw it. It's wonderful to think about the fact that this neighborhood so hard affected in October 7 and lost so many citizens. And when you go there, the coffee truck is active and all the citizens celebrate together in the daily life now in the city. It's really amazing. And we want to give a sense of security. So we are working with many programs with volunteers that like an officer in the city, volunteer, they can be in the day job engineer in a factory, and in the night they volunteer as part of the police. So these are examples for our Meshiva Ruach program, and it's really revived the spirit. Thank you again for your effort and for
thank you,
your
Hadass,
resource.
for being such a sensitive and a leader who's so willing to curate the solution to each location. So that was a little uplifting. I'm sorry, but we're dealing with the war. I'm going to turn to my friend Svika. Just 5 months ago, a single...
Well, I should downgrade the mood here, right?
No, you can try. Look, it's a hard question. I'd be really
No,
happy
but Yam
if
is
you could leave
fully
us feeling
optimistic,
optimistic.
so.
Actually, I wrote the question so that you should be able to take us back up. But, folks, just 5 months ago, a single Iranian missile killed 9 people in Bat Yam. It injured 120 residents and forced the evacuation of another 1,500 people. 110 buildings were damaged, 110 buildings from a single missile, mostly due to shock waves, leaving devastation that now you and your team will be working to repair for years ahead. So tell us about the first hours and days following the attack, and share your vision, please, for rebuilding and strengthening your beautiful city.
So, going back a bit to the start of the war, that actually happened on June 14, 2:41 a.m. A Qadr H-1 Iranian missile strike a very peaceful neighborhood in Bat Yam and basically destroyed it. And you have to understand that Qadr H-1 missile, this is a kind of missile that Iran never used in the war before Bat Yam. I'm pretty sure that even that was actually the last one, the first and the last one that was launched. It was designed to cause a lot of damage than usual because of the shock waves. And this is basically like a bus full of explosive. We thought at first it's half a ton, it's much more, it's 750 kilograms of explosive. So I was there at 2:41 in our city emergency center by accident or not during the alarm, and that was allowed me to be one of the first responders on the scene. I was there maybe 3 or 4 minutes after the missile strike. There's only one fire truck that arrived there before me, and I saw all the people going out with their pajamas and cell phone. That's it, leaving everything behind. By the way, they were silent. Everyone was shocked. So usually you expect to hear screaming. No, that was a fully shocked. People was going out with the dust like we saw in September 11. Going out to the street. And I remember that maybe 20 or 30 minutes after, I asked myself the same question that you, Becky, just asked me. What we're going to do on the second or third day. I mean, we do know that our first mission is to pull out the injury, the people that are there, to make sure that everyone got an alternative home, because I have more than 2,000 residents that are homelesses now. And I think maybe 30 minutes into the disaster, my driver come to me with the phone saying the Prime Minister wants you. And the Prime Minister called to see what's going on at the field, if we need any more help. So I told him that for now, we are good, we're going to take care of it. And he asked me, do you think this is something that actually based on what you are seeing on the scene, that you are able to make sure that in a few days, or maybe you need more than a few days, to get back to normal? Because the government wanted us, and they actually worked with us before the war with Iran started, to make sure, because we wanted to make sure that the resilience will be strong, and that if a missile strike in a big city, we're going to make sure that everyone will get back to normal as soon as possible. So I told him, no, I don't think it's going to take days, it's not going to take weeks, it's going to take years. And then he told me, okay, I'm on my way, and he was, I think, 2 or 3 hours after, was there, but only when the sun pull up in the sunrise. A few hours later, we were able to see the measure of the disaster, and we understand that our main mission, after taking care of the population, what actually was the first mission, of course, our main mission for the next few years will be to make sure that this neighborhood will build again much more higher, bigger, stronger, which I think that the right Zionist answer will be to populate this neighborhood with Olim Chadashim, with newcomers that will come to Israel. By the way, we just announced that we're going to invest a lot of money, and I hope the government will double it, to populate Olim Chadashim from North America that will come to Israel, specifically to Bat Yam.
If you're interested, speak to the mayor after today's session.
Yeah, we are really, this is actually going to be our number 1, 2, and 3 goals in terms of bringing Olim Chadashim to Bat Yam in the next few years, so we are really into it. And you know, the Prime Minister asked me when he arrived to the scene, because we briefed the press, and I spoke about our partnership. And he told me, okay, who is your partner, I mean, besides the government? And I told him that there's always a tension, like there's a gap between what the city want to give to what the city or the authorities can give. And I told him about our long year, very strong partnership with Toronto, and since June 14 with other federations. And actually I told him that this is the only way that I know to close this gap. So this is another opportunity to say thank you on behalf of Bat Yam as well. And I think that our vision, my vision, is to make sure that we will reach this goal, to make sure that this neighborhood will be built again with many more Olim Chadashim and many more residents of Bat Yam as soon as possible, with no Israeli bureaucracy. I know this is not a comedy show, but with no Israeli bureaucracy. By the way, just yesterday, the government vote for approving a new piece of legislation that about to give much more power to the cities that was affected on the war with Iran, to make sure that there were going to be much less Israeli bureaucracy. And I truly believe that in a few years, much less than usual, we will meet together in Bat Yam, in this neighborhood, with much more Olim Chadashim from North America or other places, and to make sure that that will be the right Zionist answer.
So you're saying we should have a reunion session. You send the date. I know that we've got you all scanned in. You'll all be invited to the reunion.
And you also have now new real estate opportunities in Bat Yam, of course, in that neighborhood.
Okay, but before I ask Elad one more question, and then we open it up to all of you, one of the things my team and I always want to do is give you insight into what it's felt like to be in Israel during the last 2 years, because even though many of you have visited, it's like that, I think it's a Buddhist expression that you can never step into the same river twice. And every time you come to Israel, you're coming to a different country. The events have just been unfolding that quickly, and the responses equally so. So I had the honor of representing you on a visit with Tzvika, with Mayor Brot, just a day and a half after the missile strike. And we were in the building immediately opposite the one that took the direct hit. And I have many memories from that day, but the one that you could never have guessed, and you probably don't remember, you were so busy.
The Mamad?
No, not that. Oh, well, okay.
Two things.
Okay, so what the mayor would like me to tell you is that you've already understood the expansive nature of the damage caused by the shock waves. In the building directly opposite the direct hit, let's say from here to the double doors right behind that table, we were in the living room of an apartment that was completely destroyed. Rubble everywhere, the windows were out, the fixtures were hanging down, but they had a safe room. And if you walked into that safe room, there wasn't
a scratch on the wall.
Not a crack in the paint. Nothing out of place. It was unbelievable, and sadly, all 9 casualties were people who had not sought shelter, whether that was in a safe room or in a stairwell.
They stayed in the bedrooms, unfortunately.
Right, unfortunately. But that's not the memory, although that too was a very powerful one. You started by saying that your first job was to get the people out. But on that day, in a bright orange emergency vest, there was the chief veterinarian of the city reporting to the mayor on having rescued 2 more dogs and a cat. And if I'm not mistaken, a rabbit. Now, it's really unbelievable to think that in the midst of all this disaster, the emergency services understand the importance of our pets, the importance of giving us back, or he couldn't give you back your wedding album, but they could get you your dog back if you made it through, or she made it through. And for me, that's the humanity and the level of leadership that our mayors and our other civilian and municipal leaders have shown throughout this war. And you would never have known that, but that is in my heart forever. So thank you, Mayor. Okay, Elad, you get the last question before we open it up. But we know that as of October 2025, 18,000 of your 24,000 residents have returned home, and that at the same time, 60% of your young people are not back in Kiryat Shmona. What's the strategy? How are we going to address that gap and build a strong, resilient city for the future?
Yes, I remember when in the 7th of October, that all the country, all the people in the country see the tragedy in the TV. We see the white tender in Sderot. I sleep in my. I'm sleeping my brother in the Tel Aviv, and I back in Kiryat Shmona. I know what happened, and all the country see the TV, and the residents of Kiryat Shmona leave the city, because the scenario in the third. This is a scenario all the time in the north. If you open the YouTube, you see in the 215 that Hezbollah speak how doing in the Galil, in the upper Galilee.
So that was the nightmare in the
Yes.
north, that Hezbollah was going to cross the border in their white pickup trucks and
Yeah.
do what Hamas had done in the south.
This is a plan of Hezbollah. And understand this is a tragedy for Kiryat Shmona, not like the south, but the tragedy of the community, of the residents of Kiryat Shmona. That we say just 18,000 residents come back in Kiryat Shmona. It's not just back for the 3 or 4 years. Kiryat Shmona be 18,000 before 52 years. And now this is a number. It's not just any people live at Kiryat Shmona. This, like Becky say, 60% young people and the strong family. This incredible for us. And you know that we can just one solution for this challenge. What that we're doing the strategy to build a 3 plane. One for now, and give a service, doing a lot of activity with the resident, and the 2 places that mid time. You build the mid time and the short time and the long time. You meet together with government and the partner a big plan that we can תמריצים, incentive for the business, and we needed doing together. We know that a lot of business not open in Kiryat Shmona. 50% business not open. 1,100 children not come back in Kiryat Shmona. So we need do it plan for the education, and I'm hope that the government understand this is not a situation of just Kiryat Shmona, this national situation, and we need to do it together. I hope that the plan we can do it with the government, and I want that Kiryat Shmona is the solution of a country and not a problem of country.
Amen.
Amen.
So I hope you understand that in terms of Israel's extraordinary demographic growth, to be with the same number of people that a city was in many years ago is absolutely against the trend. And I don't know if you've ever been to Kiryat Shmona. It's beautiful. It should be paradise. And when we say to you that rebuild Israel, the challenges are even bigger in front of us than they were addressing the crisis of October 7th. This is what we're talking about, a short-term, mid-term, long-term strategy to ensure that this Garden of Eden becomes a place that will be an anchor and a draw for young people, for businesses, and will hold the North. And I heard you say, I hope the government will be there. But what you know is that Toronto, Canada, and the Jewish Federations of North America, the Joint, we will be there. So you should have hope way up there on the northern border. And that's because of all of you. And now, it truly is your turn. If you would like to ask a question or make a comment, would you just raise your hand? Why, Susie Sorkin from San Francisco, would you please tell us, wait, Rena's coming with the mic. Give us your name and your community.
You just did.
Oh, okay.
So thank you very much for all that you've done. I have a lot of questions, so I'm going to ask, but I'm just going to ask one for now. I'll get to Becky later. But we recently, this week, had a meeting of our Israel committee, and we were talking about rebuild Israel, the term. And nothing, I mean, it's really important, but how can I go back to the community and tell them, what does that mean to you? Is it rebuild, like, I would think it's Kiryat Shmona, which used to be a sister city for San Francisco. There is a lot of opportunity to create something that's not just like what it was. And so if I go back and I tell my community, we want to help with rebuilding Israel, what would you say that means?
Well, you know, we spoke about the massive destruction. I mean, we have in Bat Yam 120 buildings that actually was affected. We have more than 2,000 people that are homeless. We have a lot of public area that was destroyed. But this is not why I keep up at night, okay? I'm not worried about rebuilding the buildings because we will do that. By the way, the government will, excuse me, we like to criticize the government from time to time. This is a nice Israeli sport, but in that perspective, the government will pay for everything. Our main issue, and this is why I'm not sleeping well at night, is because the fact that we need to rebuild the community, the resilience, the fact that in our neighborhood that was affected, we have a lot of children, we have a lot of senior citizens, olim chadashim, people which, I don't know, maybe because it was like an old neighborhood, so it was a bit cheaper. The apartment, the housing was a bit cheaper, so the percentage of children with special needs in that specific neighborhood are much higher than the average, the city average. So when I'm thinking about rebuilding Israel, it's to rebuild the community. Now, it's not have to be the same. It have to be better. It must be better. So how? We have tons of ideas. Some of them we are actually now started working on, both and without our partners. And we don't have time, of course, to specificate everything. But
give us one idea.
I think that if we want to take a single issue, that will be like to help children with families with lower income to get like after-school programs that by any research, and we have a lot of research working on it, will make sure that their future will be like the same children from another neighborhood that are from a family that her income is rising in the sky. So this is a specific program that we are working now. We are the only city in Israel that work on that specific program. We actually started a pilot a few years ago before the war, and now we want to take this neighborhood and make it like a national program. Started with that neighborhood and to show that every dollar and every shekel that we are spending on that specific group of children will give us a better revenue when they graduate.
You don't have to answer, but Hadass, if you want to give a short answer.
Of course I want, and I love this question. This is my favorite question, because I really think you were with us during the emergency period. It was so, so meaningful, but now we need you in the rebuilding period. We really need you. And as I said, we always take care of the vulnerable population, and now we have the new vulnerable. And the new vulnerable are those who need to struggle every day to make sure they continue their life and move to the functional part of the society. That's what we have to do now. And we also have the opportunities side, and the opportunities are huge now. We can't allow ourselves to miss the crisis. So, for example, thanks to your support in the Northern Initiative, so we really succeeded to influence on the government decision about huge amount of budget, and now we have to make sure about the execution that it really works. And we already succeeded to influence on the education decision, for example, and for economic growth, and for young families in the North. All those issues are now already improved, but we need to bring the solution. We need to bring the relevant social innovation that could help those government decisions become the new chapter, the new reality. So we have plenty of things to do right now, and I'm very optimistic about this part of how I can imagine the future, because I think now we take the strengths of the Zionism. The strength of the Zionism is innovation. It always were like this. And to take this strength and work with the strength and not with the weakness. The strength is to rebuild. The strength is to bring social innovation to the Israeli ecosystem. So working with this innovation, with compassion about all what happened right now in Israel, with the new vulnerable that are still the symbol of the recovery, the symbol of the rehabilitation, and we need to take care of them. And with all our passion to the next chapter, and we will have a great decade. I'm sure if we will do things right and fast, those people will not stay vulnerable at the next decade. People will come to Israel and see a great miracle that happened to us, thanks to your support and thanks to our achievements.
Thank you. Wow.
If I can do it in Hebrew.
Yes.
But no, I didn't. We kind of does the speak best, but we need to know that Israel, more 20 years, is 2 million people. We can't just build and do it everything in the center. And what we're doing now, that you see the periphery, and they give opportunity for residents, for people to come here, to come to periphery, and to build together. And that's what doing. This is a opportunity that the world that give. And I hope that we access to do it.
Thank you. So the strong frontiers of the north and south of Israel, that's part of the vision. Okay, I think we have time for one or two quick questions. Okay, we'll take yours, and then we'll take yours. Just say, please, where you're from and who you are.
Hi, so I'm Rachel Cohen. I actually live in Bat Yam. I'm an Oleh Chadasha.
Wow. So I have two guys from Bat Yam. I have a gal sheli, Aaron from a gal sheli. They're doing a great job in Bat Yam. And now, okay.
And also my
Zvika have to collect all the citizens that speak English fluently.
This is why you scam.
This is why. No, so
I have your info.
it's a little bit more of a comment, but I wanted to say in terms of resilience, and I live in Bat Yam, I've been there for 18 years. It's not just about resilience when something happens. I want to say something really important about our mayor. So he doesn't know, but we've actually WhatsApped. So I have young children. I'm in Park Yam. And we had issues with schools and buildings and rain and who knows what. And we can just WhatsApp our mayor and ask him questions. And when we speak about what happened in Bat Yam, my parents also live in Bat Yam. They were 400 meters away from the impact site. They heard it, they saw it, they felt it. The community itself came together. We have an I Love Bat Yam big, I don't even know what it is, statue. And the first thing, or one of the first things you did was change the heart color from red to yellow. And he said, you know, it's important that we understand and we remember the hostages in Gaza every day when we go through Bat Yam. So for me, resilience, and I know all of these organizations, but it's not just when something happens, it's building the community before. I worked a lot with the Canadian Federation on their birthright trips who came to Bat Yam and built that relationship well before. And I know that when the war happened, and especially with Iran and with the direct hit in Bat Yam, the messages that came through weren't just from friends. They were community members that have built these relationships for years. So for me, it's just really important just to say to people here that it really matters, it counts. I mean, I made Aliyah to Bat Yam, no British people do that. But knowing that we had the wider community really does help. And for me, I just urge that resilience, not just to be at a time when we need it, but the connection and the partnership that we can always turn on it and use it throughout. So thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And Rena, I think we had one last right over here. And we're going to keep our answers short because I get one last question.
I'm Toby Frank from the Washington Federation, DC Federation. And I'm just interested in what, just given all the trauma, just when you talk about the new vulnerable, I feel like the whole country is the new vulnerable when it comes to mental health. Can you just address that a little bit?
So why don't you take that question, Hadass?
I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you for this question. It's a very important question. You're right. The challenge is big, but I don't think that every citizen in Israel is traumatized. We divided the situation to 20% and 80%. 20% of the population are in what we call the really PTSD symptom involvement, a real trauma, directly trauma. And the other 80%, most of us belong to this family, we're just suffering or challenged by well-being things like a mother like me, that my son was on reserve for 2 years, and I belong to this kind of group. So we understood that we have to develop something to the 80% of the population to make sure that the 20% goes to the therapist. We don't have enough therapists in Israel to all the needs. So to make sure that the therapist goes to the right place, we have to make sure that we have other solutions. So this is the National Resilience Initiative that we established together, thanks to your support. And that's what I mentioned before. We took more than 100 municipalities. We put a mental health coordinator in each one of them. We took more than 60 organizations that doing resilience work in the field. And we gave them quality seal to know who is qualified enough to give solution in the local area. And then we brought with us the government with 70 million shekel initiative of the Ministry of Health. So in this case, we took a huge challenge. We divided it. We took the government money, the budget. We based on the local authorities' abilities, which are fabulous in this dimension, and we gave the NGOs in the field the opportunity to work. That's how JDC made infrastructure for Israel. So this is one kind of a solution.
Thank you.
We need to continue to develop this field.
Thank you. So I hope that was reassuring to you. We're all shaken. I like to say we're all a little bit frayed around the edges, but not everybody's in crisis, and it's a national imperative to not let people slide into crisis. And that's, I think, very much what you've just described. So here's my last question, and this one has to be quick because then I have to thank you all, okay? So in 60 seconds or less, we'll start with you, Hadass, and we'll just do a speed round. Your vision for the next 5 years and one practical suggestion for how we can help make that come true. 60 seconds or less.
Thank you. The most practical thing is to bring imagination to the area. We need to dream big because we can succeed to approach big things. Together we will dream big and we will execute.
Can I use her time?
Sure.
So, you know, Operation Rising Lion 2 is on the way. We do know that it's going to be in 6 months, 12 months, maybe 18 months, but it will happen.
The war with Iran.
The war with Iran. So we are preparing for that, but I think that the most important thing is to make sure, as the Prime Minister told me in the same night, to make sure that everyone will go normal as soon as possible, even if it's not normal. And I have to tell you, 20-second story, Bat Yam got hit twice. On day 5 of the war, we had a second strike in Bat Yam, luckily with no direct hits, and no one was injured or dead, but a lot of buildings was infected too. And I was there again a few minutes after, and I told the cops downstairs, close the street, and I will go up with people from the municipality to pull the people out from the building, to evacuate the building. So going up to the first floor, I knock on the first door, there's a lot of smoke and water everywhere. And an old woman opened the door with her pajamas saying, "Oh, thank you for coming, please, let me, Mr. Mayor, I'm trying to call you for 3 days, you didn't took out the trash can, the recycle bin, 3 days I'm calling the city, and I tried to call your office. I told her, okay, can we talk about it downstairs, please? There's a fire alarm. Let's go out. And if you think, by the way, that during the hour that we managed the situation downstairs, she forgot, no. She approached to me 3 times until, by the way, at the same day, in the afternoon, we changed the recycle bin in her building. So if we are talking about resilience, if we're talking about going back to normal...
It all depends on municipal services. That's what you're telling me.
Exactly, and
okay.
this is, which Bat Yam are quite well, right? So this is why I'm thinking that, this is why I'm optimistic.
Thank you. Vlad.
Sorry that I speak in my area, yes, in Galil and Kiryat Shmona. I want to see Kiryat Shmona, 60,000 people live in Kiryat Shmona, and more 100,000 people live in the Upper Galilee. I want to see a train that stops in Kiryat Shmona and going to Tel Aviv. I want to see the college of Tel Chai become the university, and 15,000 students learn there, study, and they want the peace inside in the country to be, and after peace outside. And they want to come to visit in Kiryat Shmona in the Upper Galilee. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're coming to a close of our session. I first want to thank all of you for spending time with us. I hope you got a sense of the absolute organic friendship and connection that exists today across the most senior levels of leadership in Israel. Nobody's got time for anything else. We have to all work together and row in the same direction and solve the problems that our wounded nation now has to deal with. I want to thank the extraordinary Executive Director of JDC Israel, Dr. Hadass Minka-Brown, CEO of the Kiryat Shmona Community Centers Network, Elad Kozakaro, Mayor Tzvika Brod, and Mayor Chaim Bibas for sharing with us today. Your leadership is a blessing for our people, and I want to thank my wonderful colleagues, Eliana Hakohen and Stacy Hess, who are not in this session, and Rena Goldberg for making this such a meaningful gathering. Have a great GA. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
אתה